All right, everybody, welcome to today's call. It is Friday, my favorite day of the week, as you know, because it is the TRC or the Realty Classroom Sales Training Call, and we're going to get started here right away. Now, what I'd like to do today, we've had a lot of anecdotes that we've gone through, but again, we're fresh into this new year. I will tell you that I had a nice meeting today with a new agent who's going to be joining us. And one of the keys that came up in this discussion was that what makes this approach at the Realty Classroom and also the Griffin Realty Group where we use it unique is that there is no sale when this is done correctly. And I want to emphasize that because that's been a very big theme with all my mastermind members, where I'm trying to implore them to understand that when you follow a process all the way from your marketing and all the way through, you find that there really is no pressure on a sale. Okay, becomes very, very important part of this to understand there really is no sale that we're trying to perform here. We're actually guiding people, and that is our product, right? That's our product, where we are able to guide people, empower them with information on what they need. Now, most people want something. They don't necessarily want to be told they need something. They don't want to hear, you need my guidance. They want to start off with what they want, which is property information, and then perhaps some insight as to what that information means to them. Okay, that's a big deal. What does that information mean to and for them so that they can begin to get themselves organized in the process of buying or selling? So when we go through these sales training calls, it's important to understand that my philosophy at the Realty Classroom here is very much to empower you to be unique in the fact that you know how to just give away your guidance, layered in with the property information that's relevant to them. So what they want plus what they need sandwiched together in the form of guidance is a very important part of understanding. That's how you have them begin to lean into you. Too many people are teaching still out there, go get them, go get them, go get them. But you're not recognizing the power of the simple statement that prospects pursued run away. And it just doesn't feel right to a lot of people as well. You feel like when we interview agents, we know they don't feel right. They don't want to be salesy, especially a lot of the women out there who are just really classy, nice women who would just love to use that nurturing way that they have naturally to help people. And we love that because that's exactly what we're looking for. We're not looking for salespeople, quote unquote. Sure, it's wonderful if you have sales experience, but the key philosophy here is to understand that what's different about what we're doing is that we're trying to guide people and subsequently empower them through that guidance to make an informed decision. Now, when you do that correctly, what's happening is you're getting rewarded with the business and rewarded with the sale, which becomes a byproduct of that entire process. Okay, let me repeat that. When you guide people properly and you give away that guidance plus the insight as to what it means to them, they reward you with the sale. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing, we didn't strong arm anybody. We didn't muscle anybody. We didn't pressure anybody. And there's a pandemic in this industry where we still hear it from agents. I had to step outside the office to talk to my client just in case somebody else steals them from me. I just scratch my head when I hear that, because one of the things that's most amazing to me is that there's just plenty of business out there. Even top producers control, in a lot of markets, less than 1% of the entirety of the marketplace. So your perception that's dominated by all these people is just not right. So there are an enormous amount of people to help. Now, particularly if you are helping friends, and you can simply professionalize your context and show them that even though you're a friend, you're also a professional who really gives them the best chance to win, well then, man, that's what it is, right? And that's how it really works. I'm not going to go in there and steal somebody from you, right? That's not going to happen. So neither is anybody else for that matter when you're looking at it. So I think that's very important here to understand that this is all about guiding people, and then there is no sale. Keep that in mind so that you understand when we talk telemarketing, we're saying, are you following the yellow brick system that empowers this person, that educates them? When you get to the house, is it consistent? I can't tell you how many mastermind members I've taught over the years, or just in general taught people, where there's sort of this strange disconnect. Well, I ran this postcard that said this. Well, what does that have to do with the type of property information and guidance that you will eventually start talking about? Why not start way back there so that as you enter telemarketing, as you enter presentation in the field, it's all consistent. See, the confused mind, AKA the consumer's confused mind, does nothing. And that includes not doing anything at all. See, a lot of people, when they ask the question about unique selling propositions, they don't recognize the fact that a unique selling proposition is not only supposed to tell them what's different about you versus the competition, it's why should I do business with you versus the competition, but also including doing nothing at all. There are many people that would love to sell their property, buy a property, and it's not you versus the next agent. It's whether somebody can educate them enough to get off the couch and actually do it and empower them. Okay. So keep that in mind as we go through here today and you ask your questions, because I think that's something that needs to be reiterated and you're reminded of that, because my whole entire platform for teaching is based off of that key principle. There is no sale. There is guidance that creates a sale as a byproduct. And man, when you can find that lane, and it really begins to work and validate for you, which the mastermind members are fully aware of. And even my own internal team is ecstatic about all this reinvention and reestablishing that methodology. We're just excited about what's happening. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to open up the microphones. Remember now, I have a lot of people on the call here. So the idea is you need to try to take care of your mic so you can participate. That's everybody who's internal, not looking online, but everybody who's internal, you have to control your mic or I have to put you in voice jail. And that stinks because I want you to be able to ask you questions. Today's a free-for-all. I have no agenda. I have no call that's been sent to me. So whoever speaks up first for some guidance, I will take you first. Okay. So here we go. Let's just check the mics first. Here we go. All right.
Hey, Danny.
Yep. Hi, Paul. You're up. Heard you first.
Good. I want to speak to or ask anybody who's using Vulcan 7 whether or not they're leaving voicemails. If they are leaving voicemails, whether they're pre-recorded or live, so that they can include the person's name and address when referencing their expireds. I was instructed by Vulcan 7 on a one-on-one that they suggest not leaving voicemails, so I haven't been, but I just want anybody else's experience with Vulcan 7. I've only had it for a week.
All right. Well, let me just first of all check with Laura. Laura, it sounded like there was a little noise in the office, so I muted the mic for a second. Are you with Autumn in the office?
She just got in.
Okay. All right. No hurry. But let me answer.
But I can speak.
Let me answer him first in what I think.
Okay.
And then and if Autumn gets settled in time, you guys can weigh in and we'll start with that, Paul. Because look, I'll have everybody's opinion, but on my watch, it's my responsibility for theory that goes then to practice. So let me start and then we'll open it up to anybody. Okay. The bottom line is this. It's got a lot to do with what we talked about yesterday or whenever we did in the mastermind, where I said to you, look, ultimately, it's pursuit to bring something to a conclusion. I was thinking about that driving to the office here, is that when we buy contact information in that case, and then you cull it down to the information that you want. So in other words, in your case, you're using expireds. If you buy contact information for expireds in an area and you cull that list down to the very specific areas and the very specific price ranges, then now you have this culled down list. And your job, quote unquote, or your mission is to try to pursue every one of those to a conclusion. Okay. So in a perfect world, you pick up Septembers and you call all through Septembers and everybody answers and you ask the permission to get the package out to them and they either accept or they do not accept. That brings them to a conclusion. But what about those people that don't answer the phone? What about those people that might be traveling for business? They might be overseas. They're still in there and they haven't relisted, but they're there. Let's go back to best practices that we've always started with follow-up for salespeople. If I get a contact, you okay? Hey, Lindsay, boy, is that you? Still sick? Is that you down? Sounded like Lindsay. Boise. All right. So anyway.
It's Linda.
Oh, Linda. Oh, yeah. You sounded, yeah. You okay? You sound like you're on your deathbed with Lindsay.
I'm doing my best.
I get it. Sweeping the country. All right. Let me get back to this. So, Paul, the idea that we always have had, you and I and the rest, is when I get somebody, call them today, tomorrow, and the next day. Okay. That's a diligent pursuit for that heat of the moment. This just expired. This probate name just popped up. This FSBO just came on. I'll use any context for that matter. Or like Lee was adding yesterday, this divorce notice just got put out there. So there's 4 different types of scenarios where something like that can happen. So to be quote unquote early, because I do still believe there's great merit in being early. Okay. Because if you can get there early and you can get the right message, you can almost open up a very private lane of attack, right? Very private lane. So what happens now is that what if you can't get them and they still haven't, let's stay with where we were. What if you can't get them on the phone and they haven't relisted? I'll make an argument, and I built it this way in Infusionsoft originally. On the third day, leave a message, okay? Because the idea is that we're so different now that the message is different. And then when I open the call, Paul, the message that I believe you should be leaving behind is very consistent with the script that attaches to this package. Hey, Paul, it's Danny Griffin calling from Griffin Realty Group. The reason I've been trying to reach you is because I saw your beautiful home online and I noticed it didn't sell. And I wanted to send you out some information to help you sell it the next time. So if you could give me a call back and I just can make sure that I'm sending it to the right place, that'd be greatly appreciated. Right? So something like that. But again, provocatively trying to say something that would get them to call back. Right? But that.
And you don't reference it specifically, like, I'd like to send you a book I wrote called 7 Steps to Home Seller Success.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nope. Because until they ask you what's,
package of information.
well, you need the intrigue. Like, look, people still need to be intrigued by the approach. We can't get away from the way that the brain works and just pretend we're going to be this high and mighty and we're going to say it's this and this. You still need to bring this to a conclusion. So you still need to know how the human brain works. Curiosity gets them to call back. So if all of a sudden I say it's this and it's this and this, you might overwhelm them. You might have the opposite effect. I'd like to send you a packet of information that will help you sell it the next time. And I just want to make sure I'm sending it to the right place. Would you mind calling me back to confirm the address? Boom, that's it. Be very practical, Paul, right? That's a practical answer, or a voice message. That makes sense? Paul, can you guys hear me? Check.
Yep, I can hear you. I don't know if Paul remembers, but a couple months ago, we listened to some of his calls.
Yeah.
And I had said that to him. He went through like everything almost in his voicemail. And so like they have it all at that point. And it's got to take him even longer to get through more calls because of the length of his voicemail even.
Absolutely, Terry. Good catch. Good catch. So Paul, it looks like you fell off and came back on. Terry.
I actually hung up for like 30 seconds. I got right back in.
Okay.
So I didn't really hear what.
Okay. So here's the deal. Terry is telling you, don't do that. And she's been doing it a long time for two reasons. One, now you've already told them everything and it takes too long to do it anyway. Right? And this is why we say if you get somebody live or you're leaving a voicemail, stay consistent. It's quick, it's to the point, and it tells them, that there's something in it for them. Period. Now,
I totally agree 100%.
Yeah.
I have one follow-up question.
Sure.
Within Vulcan 7, if you include the DNC numbers, you oftentimes have 4 to 5 phone numbers per person to call. Would you suggest leaving that concise voicemail on all 4 or 5 numbers?
Yeah,
half the time some of them are wrong anyway. Or
Paul, this DNC thing, we have to stop talking about this DNC thing. We're not soliciting anything, okay? I'm just going to take a stand.
Okay, so
yeah, I'm going to take a stand.
Fine, you would leave the voicemail on every single number. Let's cut it to that.
Absolutely, I would. And I would be consistent because it's formulaic. We're not soliciting anything. We're asking permission to send some helpful information, which you and I both know is absolutely helpful, and they should have had it from the start. Period, paragraph.
I agree.
And Paul, you can generic it. You don't have to put a name. You could make it generic if you wanted to drop it.
Agreed.
As opposed to
Agreed, Terry.
You do all of your own. You know what I mean? And you
the only reason I hesitate to do that generic one is because of the drop one. Is because I listened to it myself, and it sounded kind of like you were in a tin canny, like tinny, like in a can. It didn't sound live.
All right. Well, good. That's fair, Paul. That's fair because it's technique and technology that are affecting the tonality. Technique and technology affecting the tonality. He said, so that you go back and you say, Look we talked about this, and Laura, you and Autumn could weigh in on this if you want. We've talked about this singular dial approach. The only reason for a multi-dialer in my mind's eye, once a book of business is being built out, is simply to get exponential use of time versus linear. We talked about that. Autumn and I talked about that a lot yesterday. Okay. But the most important stuff to you is done in a linear fashion. Let's work backwards. If I have a list of hot prospects, okay, these are people in my database that have spoken to me, have accepted a package. I'm going to work on those first to call back to see if they got it. When I go back further, and let's say I go back a whole category into leads, I'm going to make sure that all those people who didn't list and didn't pick up the phone from a couple months ago, but they're ripening as an opportunity, because I know very few people now have any follow-up, and they're not pursuing them. Laura, I had to mute the mic there. So nobody's pursuing them. Then the dialer makes sense. But even so, if you could use the dialer to get a singular voicemail, I think your singular message to them is still leveraged in time because you're calling more of them at once, but you're still personalizing the voice to that number. If you want to add the name, fine, but you're not even totally sure of the name at that point in time. You know what I mean? It's the name of the contact you bought. It might be, that person might be deceased. We don't know. There's a lot of things that could go on there. So I would just say, I wouldn't fret the micro details yet. I just make sure that at some point in time, you begin to put a footprint on this. Who the heck is this guy calling me? Could be somebody who's very, very security conscious. They haven't answered anybody's phones, and you leave a message that says something intriguing and interesting and a call to action. You see, that was a call to action, like a copywritten letter. So the bottom line is, Paul, I want to send you a packet of information that'll help you sell it the next time. Would you please call me back and confirm the address that I'm sending it to, right? So you're asking them to take action. Paul, you could supplement that at some point. So let's just say that is a call to action. The best is they pick up. The second best is you leave a message, they call back. The third best is they still didn't do anything, and you sent out to them this package with the copywritten letter, which also has a call to action, right? So the idea is you stay consistent with the formula. This isn't again, I think your questions are often rooted in perhaps technique and tactic. It's a system, okay? 1, 2, 3 didn't get a message, right? Another week, still didn't get them. Send the package. You know what I mean? Like something like that. You'll have to feel your way into whether you want to spend the money, but we do at some point in time, and I'll ask Laura, in Autumn, at some point in time, I've said to them, look, if you still can't get them on after a message or two, and you think they're in our wheelhouse, send the package, because the package was always designed to sell for you, and it goes to work for you, like a voicemail. Only this time it has all the information in it, right? Laura, you want to weigh in on that? I had to mute your mic. It was a little noisy in the office.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, the only thing that I would add is when Autumn does decide that it's appropriate, enough time has gone by to leave a message, she basically almost says the identical intro line to people if she caught them live. Mm-hmm. So she says at the end of the message exactly what Danny said, but, would you please call me back and let me know that it's okay for me to send this package, because I will not send it without your permission. So that is like, okay, we have this packet of information that will help you sell the next time. Like, if they are truly interested in putting their house back in the market, I better call this woman back to give them permission. And she does get callbacks. Not all the time, not from everyone.
Yeah.
But that is her tactic.
At what point in time have we decided to potentially send the package? Let's presume we leave a message. And again, I know I've allowed for flexibility and creativity for the two of you to decide that. Have you come up with any methodology that you think would help? And has it helped, if we've sent it, have people been more likely to pick up the phone and or call us back?
The decision to send the package anyways is largely mainly based on the price range of the property.
Mhm.
I mean, with Boston, she has a bit harder time reaching people, so she sends the package on, probably within the first week if she doesn't catch them. Because with Boston just being a little bit different type of an animal, that's what we've kind of talked about being the best decision to do, to just send it, sooner rather than later. With Cape Cod, I mean, she could wait even a month, and if they're still not listed, she can't reach them, she'll send it.
Yeah, good.
Again, luxury is kind of, it has its own set of rules. Hold on, she's
I don't send them automatically to 800.
Okay, she says she doesn't send them automatically to the Boston ones that are like 800. It has to be, again, luxury. So that's what our main focus is.
All right, good.
So,
Paul,
yeah,
Paul, does that help I'm trying to answer you in a thorough way that doesn't just talk about voicemail. It also talks about the potential to use the package in a copywritten letter like a voicemail.
Unlike your office, I'm not really targeting luxury. I set my bottom at 500 and I set my top for these leads that we're buying from Vulcan expires at 1.5. So I'm in that 1 million to 1.5 range.
That's luxury. Paul, that's luxury.
Not in Seattle.
Paul, it's luxury. Anybody who's anybody who's spending $1 million or more, it's luxury. You don't have to live in $1 million house. Right. So I don't even know why you keep bringing that up and why you're afraid of the other ones, but I'm going to smash that.
I'm totally scared going up to 2 million, 2.5.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are.
I don't have to close on a car.
It's just that in all of that is ridiculous. You'd be shocked. Because when you get in those houses, you'll be shocked. There's no difference. You'll be shocked. There's just not, because we're in them and we're telling you they're
cybernetics, so maybe it'll help by the end of the book.
Yeah. It's totally wrong. And in fact, you're the problem when you do that. And if you'll just call them and leave the same message or mail the packages, I think, and this is a very important sales topic, we become the problem with our own limitations. Just let the system play itself out, right? Just make the phone calls, leave the messages, send the packages, and then come back to me with a result. In the meantime, you don't know what you don't know. And we do, because we're telling you, and Autumn's telling you, she's talking to people at 5 million and 9 million. I'm not saying that they're a different animal. I'm not saying that they're not a little bit more challenging, whatever it might be. But I think she's spoken to people at $5 million that were no more difficult than somebody at 300. Let's put it that way. Okay. So I'll just leave that little nugget right where it's at. But again,
I'll just say one last thing on that topic.
Yeah.
I have no problem talking to them on the phone. It's the fear of actually meeting them in person. I can talk to anybody on the phone at any price point.
Yeah. Well, here's what I want you to do, because you're so good on the phone. I want you to make the phone calls, get the packages out the door, and then I want you to go scared crapless to one of these houses, follow the yellow brick system in the house, and then tell me you got blown out because you didn't have the right shirt on, you didn't pull up in the right car, and all that other nonsense that we tell ourselves. And I'm not belittling you. I'm belittling that paradigm. That is a manifestation of the resistance. That's a manifestation of procrastination. We are the procrastinator in that case, right? If you get blown out in the house, fine. Then you and I have a chunk to talk about on this very sales training call. We can talk about what went wrong, how it went wrong. But until then, what's gone wrong is our perception, right? It's just gone wrong. And everybody that I've ever trained, including myself and Laura, are guilty of that misperception about how things work. We don't know what we don't know. So if we create these limitations in the head from a sales perspective, you actually, ironically, are selfish in doing that, because we find that the people at luxury need proper guidance as much as anybody does, right? So it's almost like being covetous. If you have this information and you don't share it with all people, it's almost like a discrimination. I know that'll piss you off because you're a arms wide open guy. Seattle's an arms wide open community, and you're actually discriminating against somebody who owns something above $1.5 million. How about that for a twist?
I'm not going to buy anything. But
you are. You're hurting them because you know where they are. You know that they failed, and your main obligation is when you have something good like this that could help them with or without you, then you're discriminating. And we are. Sales is a discrimination. And this is why Facebook's having so much trouble as a marketing company for realtors, because they got in trouble for giving away information. But now, like everything in business to a large extent is a geographical or avatar discrimination, because the minute you make a choice in which market you're going to choose and what price range, that's discrimination. But that's business. Like this political correctness thing is actually beginning to hurt business choices, right? In your case, it's more of a personal bias against a luxury set, because we perceive, oh, they're snobs, they're this. They're not. They're not. A lot of those people are very much self-made. They're very much willing to give somebody a chance. So
I honestly never thought that part, snob part at all. I just don't feel comfortable. That's all. It's not anything to do with it.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Paul. It's Danny from Ottawa. I thought I'd throw something out there for you, Paul.
go ahead.
You put yourself in the middle of the pack with all of the other realtors going for that middle chunk of change. Why don't you go for the upper limit? Imagine if there's 8 out of 10 realtors doing what you're doing and they've all bypassed that upper luxury market. Make yourself one of the 2 that goes for it, and you'll have less competition.
Yeah, that's very true up at the higher levels. Who's that, Penny? Yeah, Penny, it's very true.
Hey, Daddy.
Whoa, hang on, Fahad. I'm sorry, my mic is really loud. Penny, I think that's ironic about this, and it's interesting that this sales call is morphing into a self-image issue, because that's precisely what the problem is with sales. I'm not disagreeing with Paul that there is often an insecurity that our perception is our car's not nice enough, right?
I agree with you too, but so will half of the other realtors that you compete with.
More than half. You had it. You
in that same bundle.
Yeah.
Step outside of it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have less competition, and you just need to do it once or twice, and then you'll be the guy.
Yeah, Penny.
I agree, but we do have the package that no one else has.
Well, 100%. All right, hold on.
Differentiate us.
Hold on. Let me chunk this up for everybody. Penny's 100% right, because if you think about the distribution of any data points, I want to emphasize what she's saying and give a teachable moment about it. The average and the mean price, the mean and the median price in any marketplace that you choose will become, it's easy to discover that. You go into MLS, you do your search for that geography, and you look for the average or the middle number. Middle number is even better because you have a real scientific distribution called a bell curve. So the conglomeration or the law of averages means that there are more agents at that middle point than anywhere else. That's why, ironically, the big mistake that a lot of people make when they start this nonsense distress sale marketing, especially in the States where it means truly distressed, where we learned it in Canada, there was very few foreclosures and distress sales. So it really didn't mean what it means in the States. But now what you've done by making a stance to say, well, I need a lot of leads, I'm going to throw blood in the water, you move immediately to the left or lower end of the business. There's nothing wrong with that if that's where you really, really want to be and you have a volume play. But let's just all stand collectively and imaginatively in the middle of the distribution curve and say, hey, let's all at least say we're going to at least perform at an average or middle level. That would allow us to give ourselves a very clear and really a possible financial goal. Because we know there's a lot of data points. Let's just pick a number. Let's say it's $450,000. We know that the middle number is $450. And we know that if we do X number of deals after splits, we can make Y dollars. But the minute you go there, Penny makes a really good point here. There's a lot going on there, because every average agent is conglomerating towards that. So there's actually more noise there than either of the tails of the distribution. So you go there and you say, well, I have to build my model off this middle number anyway. Let me go there. But let me look to my right and let me look as this tail thins out. Yes, there are less and less and less sales at the very high end, but there are a lot of people who are afraid to go out there for the very same reasons, whether they're not prepared mentally, their self-image isn't congruent, they have misperceptions. There are more reasons why there's nobody out there, right? And when you oftentimes, yeah, hang on. I know you're in Beverly Hills, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Hang on, you're up next. So when you get out there, Penny's absolutely, Yep, the valley. Like you're a valley guy. I know. Hang on, because you do run up against this yourself. So I want to hear from you. But the deal is, when you get out there, nobody's saying make your complete living out there, Paul. But what Penny is saying is dabble in it until you have proven to yourself that it is about the car, that it is about the suit. Until you've proven all those nonsensical things we all might have said at one point in time, until you say that, you have no evidence that that's the problem. You have no evidence. And in fact, what I'm saying is, I was trying to appeal to this, that is when you have something of value to a human being who owns a house and needs to sell it, all of a sudden their status socially it has nothing to do with your guidance and helpfulness. So you become actually the obstacle to getting this real true help in somebody's hands. Now, of course, you believe that the help is right. Like I was talking to Jen this morning when we were onboarding her and talking about this seller course. I was saying, look, like this is what makes us so unique, is that there's no sale. This is guidance. And I'm enthusiastic about getting it to these people. And that doesn't mean it's always well received, no matter what the price range is. But I'm still enthusiastically going to get it there. I'm going to leave you with this imagery that I always say. What if you were a doctor or a nurse and a plane crashed in your backyard? You grab your package of tools and triage tools and medicines, and you run out the back door, and you run into an NFL football player who just fell out of the sky, and they've got a broken arm, and you go over, oh, let me help you. And he says, screw you, get away from me. Can't you just see I went through this? He will not accept your help. Does that mean you should turn tail, go back in the house and sit down? Of course not. There's 17 other people from this small plane crash sitting in the backyard. You run up to the next one, and it happens to be some wealthy individual who says, thank God in this moment of time, somebody with a brain insanity showed up to save me. Absolutely, go ahead and save me. Why is this business any different? Because we perceive it to be, and we have to stop turning tail, running back in the house because we're afraid or we're insecure or we don't believe, right? You have to become, and the way to get over it is to become attached to the value of the guidance that you have, knowing that whether or not it is well received, you're still darn well going to kick their door down and give it to them, right? Let them decide, but get it to them. All right, go ahead, Fahad.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, dude.
Hello?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, okay. So I only called in like a half minutes ago. So we were talking about. I think Paul. We discussed this before.
Fahad, you got to wait till you get in a better spot. I'm only picking up every other word. You're on a car phone or something. Yeah, we get a tough.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I got in only 9 minutes ago, so I didn't hear the whole, the beginning
It's okay.
of it. But I know, I think we had talked about this with Paul before as well, is like, if you, like you're saying, I totally agree. If you move to the right and you move to the higher end, you have a lot fewer people that you're dealing with, less competition because people are maybe a little bit scared of getting in there. And you're going to eventually end up doing less work for more money. And you'll be able to move your mid-range price point way up higher. And so I didn't catch the beginning, but what was the hesitation? It was that you don't look the part?
Yes, for sure. Yes, it was. And here's what I would argue, because you're both mastermind members, and
we talked about. I was just curious. Like, I mean, not to put him on the spot, but we kind of discussed this like a couple months ago. Did you revisit it after that?
Hold on. Here's what I would say. Let me answer this. I don't want to go down the Paul Cantu route per se, because that's private work with he and I. But hold on. Fahad, hold on. It's a major issue for everybody. We are the problem as salespeople, whatever the reason. And the reason why we conglomerate here on Fridays is to try to root it out. So we've rooted it out, okay? Ultimately, in a sales machine, when you are building this sales machine, I'm going to use the hard language, you have to recognize where in that sales funnel, machine, process, manufacturing plant, you are the problem. Because universally speaking, sales machines, once discovered what works, are very predictable and sustainable. The number one goal of the Realty Classroom's teachings in general are to help you build a predictable, sustainable business, regardless of exterior circumstances. My number one goal, and for my own team and my own agents in Griffin Realty Group. So the bottom line is, what you will recognize is once we understand as a mastermind, as an extended body of work to the public, once you recognize what works for our boss, the consumer, then you recognize exactly where you are the problem. So in the case of the single agent, in this case, Paul owns the company, but at the moment, he is the prime mover for this new funnel. He does not have an expert telemarketer like an Autumn at the moment. That becomes an issue, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because as the owner, the prime mover, we have our own limitations. And we're trying to do multiple roles. And even though Paul is a savant at conversation, his self-image is incongruent at the moment with luxury. Whereas mine wasn't to that extent, but I'm also not a professional telemarketer. So I went and sought the services of a professional telemarketer in Autumn who has no bias as to what the number is. None, zero. Why? Because her mindset and self-image as a professional telemarketer is to understand that she should not discriminate. In fact, as a money-driven business for her, she recognizes very simply put, you mean I can make the same call, send the same package, and if I have success at luxury, I can make X fold the money? Why wouldn't I do that first? So it becomes a wildly logical stage first. So to Penny and to Autumn, they're going to look at the long tail first. And to many others that are successful, you all say, well, I'm better than that person who's out there. Yes, but you're in your own way. They're not. The bottom line is, in a money-driven, goal-driven business, if you started at the highest price range and you moved from right to left on the bell curve, right? In other words, you called every ultra luxury, then you went to luxury, then you went to move up, then you went to median, okay? Then you would be serving the business much better. So every minute that you don't do that, you're actually railing against logic. And that's what I appeal to. And this is, here we go again with this animal brain. The animal brain says, Paul, if you'll just call from 5 to 1-5, it's plenty, says the animal brain. Well, that's not how you thrive. You don't thrive that way. You thrive by saying, I will exhaust the whole right-hand side of a distribution curve in sales. It would be for any business. It's not just real estate. It's to say, where can I make the largest commission and still serve the human being like thoroughly and deeply? Okay. You'll get rejected as often at the lower end of the distribution curve as you will the higher end. I'll guarantee you, for different reasons, but you will be rejected. So ultimately, the logic of the salesperson should always be the money goal gets set. In this case, the gross commission goal gets set, regardless if you're at a company or not. You set that goal. Then you say, what is the fastest path to get my goal? Well, the fastest path is to do as many larger transactions than smaller transactions. Duh. It's logical for any of us. And I say, duh, not to crap on it. Hold on. Not to crap on us, but to highlight the fact that if you just look at it, people are people. And they have their quirks and their strange behaviors or not so. Like, we'll tell you that we deal with some luxury people that are fantastic. They get us 100%. And they're far easier than the left end of the distribution in some cases. So here you have a $2 million listing opportunity versus a 300. And one's yelling and screaming at you at 300. And the other one saying, sure, tell me what to do next. And the simple reason is you believe that you should be down here where there'll be wins and losses. And now you have to, just because you pigeonholed yourself there, you, instead of mixing it, now you're stuck monetarily because you're the problem. So Paul, I can almost make a decision that We don't need to work on the self-image for the next 10 years only to wake up and find out we couldn't crack our own code. What we need to do is get a couple of victories and invest in somebody and teach them we do not discriminate here. We call from the highest end down to the middle first. And when we've exhausted that, we look at what's next. Period. All right, go ahead. Who wants to comment on that? Because I know you all struggle with this.
Hey, Danny.
Yes, go, Rebecca.
I have a question that's kind of similar to the same vein.
Sure.
It's regarding getting in touch with people again. And what I mean by that is I will connect with somebody, have a wonderful call with them, schedule an appointment, and call them at the appointment, the scheduled appointment time, and they're not there. And then I leave them a voicemail saying, I will call back in a day or two, or I'll give a specific time and date when I'll call back, and they still don't answer the phone. And I'm spending like weeks and weeks and weeks never really reconnecting.
All right, Rebecca, hang on.
Again,
Rebecca,
a good seller questionnaire.
Rebecca, hang on. You have to take me back further. Give me the whole context. Take me along the whole beam of light so I can see the whole way that you arrived there. I have chunks of it, but I need detail now. So take me a little bit back further. These are expireds, yes or no?
Yes, they're expired or canceled.
Okay.
Either one. They're not probates, they're not FISBOs.
Okay. You get a phone call into them and you make the offer we're talking about this free information package, yes?
Yes.
And you get
Sometimes they've even received the package already.
Okay. Hold on. In that phone call, you get the package out to them. Do you say, I'll call you within a week to ensure that you got the package, yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You call them back within a week and you get them there or not? This is where I'm lost.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do not get them. Okay. So let me give you a real example. There's a gentleman, I've spoken to him on the phone 5 times now. We've done the seller questionnaire, and I know he's had some health issues, so that's been part of the problem. But he'd agreed to have Gail come into the house, and has missed every single appointment after a certain point. Now, and maybe it's his health that's failing that's causing him to not be able to have the in-house tour. So that one I understand, but I've had other examples where these people are excited about the CMA. They give permission. They give permission for me to call them back next Tuesday, 2:00 or whatever. And then I don't hear from them again. I'm calling them, for 5 or 6 weeks, and I still am not reaching.
Have they relisted? Are you checking? Okay, all right, I got it. Oh, hold on. You're running down too fast. Stop running in your head, because that's part of the problem. You're running. Slow it down.
Well, I'm trying to give it.
Hold on. I know, but just listen. Hold on. Listen.
It's frustrating.
Rebecca, it's important you listen to me, okay? Your brain is part of the problem. It's too much. You're blah, 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 in your head because it's coming out of your mouth, okay? Now, that might sound harsh to you, but I'm saying first you have to slow everything down.
It does.
There's
very little time on this call right now.
Rebecca, there's the noise again. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. So how am I supposed to communicate to you right now on this call and not waste everybody's time?
I have enough.
The information you need to know in order to answer my question.
I have enough. You listening to me? I have enough already.
Yeah?
Okay. Listen to the answer, please. Okay? The answer is everything when you're studying it has to be slowed down so that you can see these micro moments. Okay? You have a micro moment where I'm going to ask another question, but I can't get in there because it's noisy. When you talk to that guy that you mentioned and you said, is it okay that I call back to make sure you got the package, or you say, I will call you back, either or, is there any subsequent conversation about his motivation? Because the reason people don't pick up the phone again oftentimes is because their motivation to do so is non-existent. So my question to you is, in that conversation, when you get permission, do you ask them anything about why did they try to sell it in the first place? Because if you don't, you should. You track that?
Chance? Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I do have that conversation with them, Danny.
Okay.
Would
So
you like to, I guess what we need to do yet again is send you the call, because
okay.
you will hear that my tone with you and my fellow coworkers is much faster than it is with the client.
Okay. So
my
hold on.
tone's different also.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just trying to get to the point because we're running out of time for this call, and I would like my questions answered.
You're getting them answered, but you're not hearing the
trying to be
answer.
concise,
Rebecca,
that's all.
you just know. All right, I'm going to put you on hold, okay? Because I got to stop the noise for you, for your benefit. This might sound like tough love and you're getting agitated. So I'm going to stop the noise and I'm going to give you the answers. But if you don't hear them, then I'll repeat them over and over and over. It's a really important point, but you're arguing with me now. It's no good, right? You don't have to come on these calls. If you argue with me with all that noise, you don't hear my answer. Here's my answer. In that moment in time, we have to find out why. What is the true motivation? Because what I've been trying to say now for 3 or 4 minutes is, in my own office, in the mastermind group, what I have found is that motivation and the question about it is more important than I ever thought it was. And Laura and Autumn, you will weigh in this a second. You muted as well. The most important thing we have discovered is that you're asking a question about a person who is probably, and I'm only guessing because I don't know the data, who's probably not super motivated to sell. But I don't know that. I don't know their motivation. And unless you've dug in there and find out, geez, it looks like a beautiful house. Why did you try to sell it in the first place? Really? Oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell it? If they don't answer it, or they answer it anywhere less than a 10, we are discovering they are not really motivated. We have now discovered several of the people that we have sold their houses for actually quipped that they were motivated beyond a level of 10. One lady said, I'm a 15. She's a scale breaker. The other one said something to the same effect because she had already moved. They had huge reasons to be motivated to sell. And ironically, they had still failed with another agency. And it turned out to be something that I was easily able to solve in a very easy spot. So and Tony Legendry brings this up all the time about timing and motivation. But the qualitative answer and our job to get that answer is now elevated for me more than ever before, because here's what's happening. We are wasting time pursuing the unmotivated, and that might have nothing to do with you and not your fault. So the answer to your question is, why does it happen? Because we're pursuing unmotivated people. So how do we solve it? His answer is, you dig in deeper, even on the first call. First beat, get their permission to send the package to them. Wonderful. Tell them you'll be following up. And then oh, by the way, why did you try to sell it in the first place? It looks like a wonderful home. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell the property? Now, those are the same questions that are asked in the seller qualifying questionnaire when somebody says yes to an appointment. Okay. So that's what happens there. So we need to say, hey, maybe we ought to make this adjustment, because here's a problem Rebecca's having, that she's pursuing ghosts. Terry, that's near and dear to your heart because you know what this is. Okay. So I'm going to ask now,
Sure.
in addition to me answering it, Terry, I want you to give your thoughts on it. And I'm going to open up the mic again. And Laura, you need to have Autumn near the mic with you so that you guys can answer. Terry, go first because you do the job and you've been pursuing ghosts. Tell me what you think of that answer and what your techniques are.
I mean, she threw in the whole, health problems. That could be one thing. Do they have a lot of doctor's appointments and she's just not catching them at the right time? If they're not calling her back based off of her voicemails, they're overwhelmed and you just got to give it time.
Exactly. But again, going back to motivation, like say, what's helping you move, what's the reason for moving here? Am I like, and then we know they have a doctor's appointment. Well, it absolutely could be it. And if she knew that was the reason for moving, then she's extremely clear that they could be doing this. And then there's this patience thing. You know what I mean? That's why I said I didn't like all the noise coming out of her head, because you can feel, and look, I'm empathetic to it, but I want to solve it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to.
And it's super frustrating because some people could tell you that they're, like you said, the off the scale 15, and you still can't get a hold of them. But I mean, if everybody takes a step back and thinks about life in general, I mean, when we wanted to sell our home, I still had 4 kids. It was craziness. My husband was working graveyard. There was all this stuff going on. I couldn't make certain times for many days, even though we wanted to do it right then and there.
Yeah. Life happens. And again, I said this morning when I was talking to a new agent. I said, look, you have to be aggressive here, but you also have to be patient. And aggressive, it doesn't mean what it sounds like. You have to dig out the reason, right? It's almost as if we want to counsel people to really consider this. Like, are you sure you really want to do this? Right? It's that, and people would call that a takeaway. I don't call that a takeaway. I call that truth. Like, are you sure you really want to do this? Because this is not easy. Like, are you a 10 at a scale of 1 to 10? Because in our experience, if you're not a 10, you better get there first before we really can help you. Because this is a harrowing, tough experience, and you're sick and you're going back and forth to the doctors. So by doing all that stuff, quote unquote, you begin to really empower them, but you also are discovering how to handle that case. Because Terry, remember when early on we were saying, bring everybody to a conclusion, and the quality of the lead we were pursuing at the time was very whimsical. And so we were pursuing Ghost, and it was you that said to me, hey, you really want us to pursue Ghost? Isn't there a cutoff point at some point? Well, in this case, expireds, we can get there quicker. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Because again, they were, like you had pointed out to me, they were communicating by not communicating.
Yep.
And I had a very hard time with that. And once I took on that mindset, I can't tell you even the amount of people that have called us after, because I had left them those bazillion messages and they had one still, or they had an email from us. And it was like, okay, I'm ready now. Yep.
Good. All right, Laura, go ahead. Go ahead. Weigh in on this.
So 2 things. One, because I've said this to Terry many times, that yes, you're right. Silence is most definitely a part of communication. And if we really get into the compassion about someone who is sick, is anyone who has health issues going to be like, I want to put my house on the market tomorrow? Maybe, probably not. I mean, I know when I'm not feeling good, I'm not gung-ho to like have people walking through my house,
Right.
So we just have to step back from our goal and motivation of, getting Gail in the door. I would just stay consistent and just keep reaching out, because eventually he'll call you back, or eventually he will, or she will meet with Gail. And I agree with Danny, is if they're missing appointments, they are not a 10 in motivation. Like, and you even if the word 10 goes out of their mouth, their actions say otherwise.
Yeah.
So
and the other,
have to listen to that.
well, the other intriguing thing here is if somebody agrees to an appointment, I mean, I'm just showing up on the doorstep at the time of the appointment. That's up to you and Autumn to confirm that, it's really an appointment. I mean, if it's not going to be, then that's on you. I mean, I'm just expecting that every door I show up to, there's a body waiting for me. And if there's not, I'm going to turn around to you and say, well, you just wasted my time and yours. That's on you to really confirm that appointment once you get it. Right. So, and again, it's difficult if somebody's elderly, if something comes up or somebody's sick, that's understandable stuff, right? Life happens, but there's no rush to a bad appointment, and you avoid that by doing what I said in either one of 2 places. One, on that initial call, you determine on a scale of 1 to 10 and why. And do you really want to do this? That kind of language. You reiterate that same stuff when you book the appointment. I actually reiterated a 3rd time when I go in the house and says, it looks like you're 15. Tell me a little bit about this. This is what you told Autumn. So we actually will hit that beat 3 times now to really confirm, are we about to take on a client who's going to listen to us because they're super motivated? See, the higher the motivation, the bigger the reason for leaving, the more they're going to pay attention to what they need to, right? Which is our guidance. You have to listen to our guidance. And even when they really need to, you and I are experiencing a case right now where the gal's not hearing anything we're saying because she has lost herself emotionally. So we have to reset, get back face to face, and start all over again, right? Even though she is off the
And
scale.
Danny,
Yeah, Terry.
to keep the customer service part of it, you know, because it's not like if she talked to him 5 times, there's obviously the interest and he's there. The next voicemail just needs to be, hey, I've tried to reach you a few times. I'm sure you're busy. I know you have a lot going on. So I'll give you a call in a couple weeks to see if the dust settles. If the dust settles before that, you call me. And so you've still done the customer service part, but you've been empathetic and explaining to them why you understand they're not answering your call.
Yeah, it's what I was saying to Paul at the beginning of the call. You like ask for a call to action. Say, hey, you know, I know you weren't feeling too good. I want to make sure you're okay. Can you call me back and let me know? Because I've been trying to reach you. So in that context, I have very specific information. This person's been sick, back and forth to the hospital. Hey, I just want to make sure you're okay. Forget about what I sent you. Call me back and let me know you're okay. Right? So these all these contexts.
Yeah. And I rebut his generic, and I get that, but I leave generic voicemails all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I leave no voicemails, and more people call me back with no voicemails because they want to know who's on the other end of that phone that didn't leave them.
Well, I think what he was saying more so was in Mojo, if he records one, it sounds tinny when it gets left. I mean, if
that's the case, then if you sound tinny when you're on Mojo and you're talking to them regularly, there's no difference because I recorded my voice. I've done it. I've played my calls back, and they sound the same as the generic.
No argument. I am not going to argue with technical people that do the deal and test it because that's exactly the right thing to do. Leave it for yourself. Hear how it sounds. Good for you, Terry. That's why I asked you to answer. Gail, I think I have you on here, but your mic was super crackly. So I'm going to open up this mic. Gail, is that you? Gail? Yeah. Gail, you have a terrible mic there, and I want to be able to hear from you to end this call here. So I don't know if she's going to try to call me back here, but
I'm here.
Yeah, that's you, Becca. But I also want to, Rebecca, I want to get Gail too to weigh in on this because I think she was trying to. But go ahead while we're waiting. I think she's trying to call back in. Now you've had 3 different answers, so feel free to respond to all those.
So I did do all the suggestions, actually, the voicemail that you're talking about. I did actually call him back and say, I know the last time we spoke, you weren't feeling so well. I hope you're doing better now. I'm going to try to touch base with you next week. I will call you on Tuesday at 2:00. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Here's my cell phone number, and take care. You know, I've left several of those messages with him. So I hear what you guys are saying. It's good information.
Well, I think Rebecca, I think you've done the job. How about that? I think you've done the job. I mean, there's limitations to what you're going to be able to do. And again, remember, as much as you're white knuckled to get your book of business started, as was Autumn. Autumn will tell you immediately. We're sort of asking, you know, she sort of had a chuckle for herself that in the first 4 or 5 months of doing this, she was very white knuckled. She was pressing very hard to get a result. And I kept trying to say, look, relax into this. It takes a little bit of time. And here we are 8 months in, and it's a different world. So there's only, and I think that's why there's so much pressure in your head. And I did mean to be rude to the paradigm, not the woman named Rebecca. I don't like the paradigm that has a hold of you. I think you're really good at this. I think you did everything pretty close to right. I just wanted you to have several other voices that was specific tweaks to that motivation because quite frankly, I didn't until just last couple of weeks lean in with my own team to say, look, gang, now we're in a position of plenty. There are a lot of people. Do not put me in houses where they are not at a 10 or they're breaking the 10. I think that's the one technical tweak that I would say definitely, Rebecca, when you have we've confirmed the package is going out and that you will weigh in, that's the one tweak I would add to what you did. That's it. Other than that, I think it's just a matter of remembering you have multiple people you're trying to pursue. If you leave a provocative message like you just said you did, I just think you've done everything you could in that particular case. Gail, is that you? Did you come back in here? Gail, is that you? Yes or no? Okay.
Yeah, Danny, I'm here.
All right, there you go. Were you trying to weigh in on that?
No, I was plugging in my car. So,
Okay, no sweat.
But I really think the information that you've given, Rebecca, is extremely important. And I'll tell you why. It's not just the resistance, but sometimes people feel like you're not for them. Not you, Danny,
Yep.
but it's just a sense that because of fear, people don't want to grasp what another person's saying because they think they're not for them. And it's really not true. What we're doing here is we're looking at what the mindset needs to be, and maybe we need to change some of what we're doing on the first call. Period. That's it.
Got it.
There is no other issue involved.
You got it.
And I think that you really honed in on the correct part about all that. And it's really important that Rebecca hears that instead of being fearful.
Yeah.
And I think that was
and
coming out of it. I don't know.
Well, here's what
that's what I hear.
Well, here's what it is. Let's, instead of calling it fear or calling it something, it's some sort of a result have. And I simply think hers is similar to Autumn's, or anybody that's listening to this that's new at telemarketing or new at this lane. Paul Cantu is a pro forever. He's a key mastermind member, but he's opening up a brand new lane, doing it a brand new way that he's never done before. So similar to Rebecca, similar to Autumn, it's new to people that are really good telemarketers. And there are subtleties that we've already discovered that are techniques that can dig in deeper to identify something that is viable versus not. There is a pecking order to these people that we're pursuing, and it is based primarily off motivation. But for years, we've all learned we got to establish timing and motivation, but nobody teaches how. How do you really get the right answers? So why are you moving in the first place? On a scale of 1 to 10, how high are you? Why are you not a 10 or above? What's keeping you from that, right? And ultimately, do you really have to do this? I don't even have an order to those 3 beats. But that's the technique and tactic that helps somebody identify and segment their book of business so that when they call back, they go, well, this guy is really not a 10. And I just have to make sure he got the package. So he's not my priority. But that lady who said she was a 15, I got to get her back on the phone quickly. See, that's how you segment your sales book of business when you understand the distinctions that are slight and have been made to get you home on this. So Gail, you and I understand that. Rebecca's new to it. And like Autumn, they're white-knuckled in the beginning. It's really hard to coach. Slow it down. Quiet the noise. You're doing great. Hear the technique change in the first call and understand why that helps you segment your book going forward so that we're not training just on the guy who's sick and hard to get. We're more so training on were you able to identify any 10s? That's exciting because that's where your next opportunity is. That's it. It's that.
Yeah. So that is it. So I think, like you always say, we're hunting elephants. And when we are doing that, I think it's important on that first call for Rebecca to segue into that next part of the process. Why were you going to sell in the first place? If you were to sell, what's your timing? What's your motivation from 1 to 10?
Yep.
Whatever she can get in.
Yep.
Whatever she can get in. And I think what has happened is we've become progressive. Like everything that we do, we tweak it a little bit more and we become better at that.
Yeah.
And so now we're seeing, at least for our telemarketing, that we want to have that happen. So, for example, we send out packages to everybody. So we do it a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so everyone already has a package by the time she gets hold of them, or it's on its way. And that's the way we've decided to do business at Rossetti Realty. But I think with Rebecca, now that she's getting all these people that she's talking to and they're not listening or calling back, or she's not able to talk to them, that the deeper dive needs to happen on her first call. In the beginning, it was just get the package out and let me call you back. But I think we need to do that deeper dive, right, Danny?
100%. I just said that to Autumn a couple of weeks ago on a probate. I thought she rushed the call. She was killing it. It was great. and more was there for the taking. Yes, I do believe the first beat is we sent this to you. It's coming to you in your case because you said, and again, I think that's a good Rossetti Realty business decision. I think it's good because you're hunting massive elephant. So, and the package itself lives like
fantastic on the phone. So
Yeah.
giving her that little bit of advice, the little techniques, is going to make it a lot better.
Yeah,
for her.
and helping her try to relax to see segmentation. There's only so much she can do. If they're not a 10,
I know.
same with Autumn.
I love that
Terry.
about her. There's so much she wants to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Got it. All right, listen, I'm out of time and I have to get out of this office because I'm in an office share and I know they have to get it up to the next person. Rebecca, I promise you, get me some phone calls and I'll walk that individual call with you so we can feel it. And you pick them. You pick them so that we have something against which to backdrop. But this is the piece of advice to go away with. Dig in on that motivation after you've confirmed that their package is coming and you can follow up. Once you get that first beat, try this technique and let's see what that feels like to you. But now go into your book of business after this call and determine, do I really know the motivation on any of these? And if I do, let me focus first on the ones that are highly motivated. Okay. That's our new distinction. That's what we're doing. And we're sharing it with you live. Like she says, we evolve by the minute here. Okay. But bravo. And thank you for letting me go there with you because that's how I help.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for being.
Yeah, seriously, thank you.
Well, thank you for being strong enough to handle a tough conversation. You know, most people wilt like a shrinking violet. You are already an excellent telemarketer, but this gets difficult and subtle. And we have to be willing to go there together to say, let's get beyond theory. Let's practice it. Let's see if this tweak gets a result. Bring it back to me. And we can hear our boss really tell us, the consumer, right? Consumer's our boss.
I
And-
wholeheartedly agree. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. You're awesome. Thank you for that's a good call. See, when I'm sweating at the end of it, Rebecca, that's a good call. Bravo. And anybody else that was listening, listening in as a shrinking violet said, I would never go there. Shame on you, because that's how this lady's going to kick some tail in 2020 because she goes there with me. You got to go deep to get it right. All right, everybody. Good job. See you on the other side.
Thank you.
You bet. You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Rebecca.